So there was an interesting tweet. Firstly, happy Thanksgiving to all of my American Bitcoin family around the world, wherever you are celebrating today. Happy Thanksgiving. You know, for me, I'm a big fan of America, or its truest version of itself. I'd like to say I wanted to move to America when I was younger. Now, not so much. But America, I think, is a beacon, just like the British Empire was a beacon in the world. And of course, that comes with bad things, but it also comes with a lot of good things too. And so, you know, I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope you are enjoying your time with your friends and your family, etc., etc. So, you know, today I saw a tweet by Samson, who is a figure, a great figure in the space. He's got a lot of history in Bitcoin, worked with so many legendary Bitcoin companies, and he's making a mark in the space. And he tweeted out. Let me just get it right now. I think it'd be easier than me just remembering, because there's a lot of controversy going on about his tweet. So, you know, here it is. He said, where is it? Here we go. I keep saying here we go, but while I'm doing this, you should be hitting the subscribe button. If you haven't already, then you are disserving Bitcoin YouTube. So please click the subscribe button and help me spank the YouTube algorithm for Bitcoin. So he said, approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF would send Bitcoin to $1 million per coin over a few days. Gary and the SEC don't want to be the ones responsible for sending Bitcoin to the moon, right? And then he followed up. Let's see if I can get the follow-up. Here's the follow-up. And then he said, this is a terrible video. This might be my worst video yet. I should have organized all this. Right, then he said, it has come to my attention that there are some Bitcoiners that don't think Bitcoin can reach $1 million in a matter of days or weeks after ETF money starts to flow in. They're in for a pleasant surprise. And there was one person, you know, who basically insulted Samson and basically said that this was, I can't remember the fancy term he tried to use, but he basically, you know, this guy's a trader, right? This guy's a trader. I'd be surprised if he's trading more than $1 million. And he's basically looking at squiggly lines all day, wondering why everything is bearish, talking about how everything is bearish forever. And so he basically retweeted that, and I think he said it's weapons grade stupidity or something like that. I can't tell now because he's blocked me, right? And I said, listen, look, at the end of the day, did you read what Samson was saying? Did you understand what he's trying to say before you just reposted it and it started insulting him for no reason? And this person's one of these people who believes, you know, where I come from, if you believe and you have conviction in something, you actually take a market position in the direction that you think it's going to go. This is the type of person who basically, you know, believes that sitting in cash is taking an active short position against the direction of which something's going to go. And I've had this debate with him a lot because I like the guy. I actually like the guy. I think he has a lot of value to add. I think he has a lot of value to add, but he couldn't stand my comments, and therefore he blocked me now. So I'm going to go away and cry about that. But yeah, this is a guy who basically, you know, has probably got, I would say, mid six figures of a trading account. And he's sitting there bearish for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on in his personal life. And then coming out and saying this sort of stuff and basically putting words in Samson's mouth saying that, you know, this is exactly going to happen. So I decided to sit here, and after defending him, I decided to run some mathematics, right? Because ultimately everything is mathematics. So I decided to run some mathematics and try and see, like, what would it take to get Bitcoin to $1 million per coin shortly after an ETF approval? What are the likelihoods of that? And who is incentivized to actually make that happen? So I wanted to sit here and while it's Thanksgiving Day and I know you're sitting around with your friends and family, I wanted to sit here and work through the mathematics with you. So that's what we're going to do, right? So a $1 million Bitcoin price would equal a $21 trillion total market cap. That's you basically go $1 million times 21 million equals 21 trillion, right? Now, in order to get there, in order to get to a $21 trillion market cap, assuming that Bank of America is correct in their bull market multiplier that I've been telling you about for months, you would need a cash injection of roughly $180 billion, right? $180 billion of cash injection coming in order to get to that multiplier level. Now, this doesn't assume, this assumes that, there is no increase or change in the multiplier. This is basically assuming that the multiplier stays static. And as you've seen now, as I hope you've been watching my videos after you subscribe to my channel, like, the market doesn't stay static. During the fake ETF tweet by Cointelegraph, the market was up way more than that 118 multiplier inside of 30 minutes. And I think some of you managed to get some evidence of how this actually works, So in the real world, rather than just listening to these people that like writing lines on charts. So you see now it works. It can go up and it can come down, right? And so if we did $180 billion, it's actually $178 billion, right, of capital inflow coming in to take the price to 21 trillion. Well, 180 billion is not going to probably move in on day one, right? It's probably not going to move in on day one. But if we have a look at, what happens if that comes in the first year, right? What happens if, we'll get to the incentives in a second. But that it works out to, there's 252 trading days in a year. So you're looking at $706 million of daily purchasing coming in order to make this happen in the first year, right? And you go, okay, cool. So what would be the equilibrium? What would be needed to come in to move the equilibrium price of Bitcoin to that? And the way we work that out, just loose balling it here, right? If we take $1 million per Bitcoin and divide it by, say, 30,000, it's a 33 times increase, which means that if there's $25 million a day coming in right now, right, you would need, assuming this moves in a linear fashion, you'd need $825 million a day worth of purchasing coming in. And if that happened in a single day, the price of Bitcoin would hit $1 million a coin. It does not need to be fully injected for that to happen. As long as that demand stays consistent, $800 million a day coming in to stay consistent, Bitcoin will be moving to $1 million a coin faster than anyone can think, especially the doom and gloom boomer traders who want to write lines on charts and talk about being in cash positions. By the way, my friend Teddy made a good point. He said that the next cycle is going to be filled with a bunch of Bitcoin bears talking about the fact that I still own a substantial amount of Bitcoin, even though they're sitting 80% in cash, holding their dick in their hands, right? That's basically what's going to happen here. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to profess to know about what's coming, tell you that the market's going to collapse and we're going to go into a bear cycle and all this other stuff, and then Bitcoin's going to go vertical, and then they're going to say, I still own a substantial amount of Bitcoin. Yeah, but you could own a way more substantial amount of Bitcoin than you do if you had just pulled your head out of your backside, right? That's the real problem is. So I want to make it clear, you don't need that much capital going into Bitcoin in order for Bitcoin's equilibrium price to move to $1 million a coin. And then here's the other point. As that move happens, less and less people want to sell because they think it's going to keep going up and up and up. So if Bitcoin goes from 30,000 to 70,000 in a day, right? Then suddenly the people who were thinking about selling are going, wait, let's see how far this goes. Now it goes from 70,000 to 110,000. Now more people are like, I need to get in because I'm going to miss out. So now the FOMO kicks in. The FOMO kicks in, people start withdrawing their Bitcoin away from exchanges so they can't sell it, and all of that kicks in. And who's incentivized to do this? BlackRock. Because what's better for BlackRock than launching a fund, and on the day that the fund launches, the asset price doubles and their fees double. So now all of their employees are happy because their employees are making fees. Their fees have just gone up. The clients are happy, the initial ones who got in, and you can use it as a sales tactic. Hey, we called you last time before it started trading. You said no. Now you're an idiot because the price has just gone from 35 to 70. Do you want to get in now before it goes to 110? Then their clients are going to say yes. So it's there. People are incentivized to move the price of Bitcoin up. I know there's a lot of $1,000 net worthers that think BlackRock is incentivized to move the price down, but it makes no logical sense. They make percentage-based fees off the dollar value of the asset. So therefore, the higher the dollar value of the asset, the more successful their launch is, the more successful their business is, and the more money they can pay out to their team. And again, you only need $800 million a day of purchasing, right? That might sound like a lot to you if you're sitting there with, $1 million net worth. But in the grand scheme of things, that's really nothing if the money starts flowing very, very rapidly. Do I think it's going to take a couple days to move to $1 million a coin? No, I don't. But is it possible? Absolutely. Is it likely? Probably not, because there's always a warm-up phase that needs to happen. Now, will I be pleasantly surprised if it does? Absolutely, of course. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't think it's there's no chance for it to happen. And all you got to remember is, if there's $1 billion of net long positions that come into the market, the equilibrium price has to move up. By the way, we're entering a period where we've got the lowest amount of Bitcoin available on exchanges. We've got people pulling their Bitcoin and hodling higher than ever, 70% 1 year hodl rate. And then on top of that, you got institutions coming in who have, and they have access to people who can finally get exposure to Bitcoin through an ETF traded product. So, and by the way, there's $50 billion of value in the GLD ETF. There's $1 trillion of derivatives on gold. So how many people would just go, you know what, let's take a little bit from there and dump it into the Bitcoin ETF? All I'm saying is that Samson's maths is not wrong. It's not wrong. Now, will it happen? Won't it happen? Etc., etc. We can debate that. But if you're sitting there laughing and snickering at the fact that Samson Mao has just said that the Bitcoin price can go to $1 million a coin within days of an ETF coming out, and you're snickering at it because you think it has to go up from 35,000 to 45,000 before it can take the leap to 55,000, you're the moron. You're the idiot because you don't understand how market dynamics work. You need to go study the chart of Tesla in 2019, 2020, and 2021. You need to go and understand how, when FOMO kicks in, when incentives are aligned, that all of these things will line up and you could have a runaway price of Bitcoin. Now, the most important thing about me telling you this is it's important to think about it. It's important to think about it because if you're sitting there with capital not allocating it, then you could wake up tomorrow and let's say it doesn't go to $1 million a coin. Let's just say it goes to $350,000 a coin, right? So if we go to 350,000, hold on. 350,000 times 21 million, $7.3 trillion market cap, right? So 7.3 trillion divided by 118, which is the bull market multiple. You need $61 billion of capital flowing into that. If we get let's go $62 billion, right? And you divide that by 252 trading days, just within the first year, right? You're looking at $246 million of capital coming in per day in order to move the price to 350,000. Why is 350,000 important? Because you could be sitting there, right? In one day, the capital coming in goes from 25 million net longs a day to 250 million net longs a day. And now, instead of being able to own one Bitcoin at 35,000, you can only afford 0.1 of a Bitcoin. That's how fast this asset can run away from you. And if you're sitting there wasting time, not getting your allocation, not getting to one Bitcoin, not helping me by subscribing to this channel push Bitcoin out to people, and by the way, to other Bitcoiners channels too, you could miss the boat here because there is no turning the clock back. Once the Bitcoin has been acquired, it has been acquired. It is the hardest, most scarcest asset in humanity. It's not like you're going to be able to just print some more fucking Bitcoin. So I want everybody to stop snickering and laughing from your small-minded perspective when Samson comes out and says $1 million of Bitcoin is what could be possible within a few days of the ETF, and understand the maths behind it. Even if it doesn't get to $1 million, you could be completely fucked if you miss this opportunity, which is why I'm out here trying to get people to get to one Bitcoin before you start missing this train that's about to leave the station. Stop listening to people that think everything has to go up in a linear fashion. It doesn't. Go study the chart of Tesla. And if it can happen to Tesla, that can issue more shares, which has competitors, what do you think is going to happen to Bitcoin? Which cannot print more Bitcoin, does not have any competitors, and all of the providers are incentivized to make the price run up as fast as possible, to create FOMO in their clients, to create more fees for themselves, and to make themselves look good. You know what BlackRock wants? We launched a Bitcoin ETF, and on the day that it was launched, our fund was worth $2 billion, and a week later, our fund was worth $200 billion. That's what makes BlackRock look good. So despite all of this, you need to get to one Bitcoin because there are still only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, you shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.